Wake the world with dawning joy, wake it with your gladness, work for justice, live in peace.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my privilege to represent the members of apostolic communities on this panel. It's very exciting to me to see the enthusiastic response to Pope Francis's declaration that this time is the year of consecrated life. And as Archbishop Samples stated this morning, the Pope has stated the purpose is to look to the past with gratitude, to live in the present with passion, and to examine our fidelity to the mission entrusted to us, and then lastly, to embrace the future with hope. As a former vocation director, I'm delighted with all the attention, not personally, of course, but for our particular way of life, for the good of the church and the people we serve and with whom we minister. I would like to answer the questions given to us in reverse order, but first, a quick review of the history of consecrated life. Please note how the ways of being committed to consecrated life have changed over time. At the end of the age of martyrs, which also included the age of consecrated widows and virgins, a new form of martyrdom was instigated, desert hermits. Then monasticism was introduced in the West, Benedictines, Trappists, and other monastic communities. Then, when people no longer clustered near monasteries, the mendicant orders, such as the Dominicans and Franciscans, hit the road, so to speak, to be where the people had moved. Then, by the 15th century, the age of apostolic orders, in which men and women, for the first time, were actively involved in service of charity and education. Lastly, the 1800s to the present, the age of the teaching congregations, and I might add, healthcare congregations, began. The question: what are my hopes for the church and the world? First of all, that they, the church and the world, know from the history of consecrated life that new forms of consecrated life have come into being over the many centuries in response to the social and sometimes the political situations, as well as the needs of the times. In some cases, as new ways of consecrated life emerged, those established earlier remained, hearing the call for renewal and reform, and in other cases, they ceased to exist. In many cases, religious communities have invited the church and the people of God to move with them from the center of the established ways of doing things in order to serve new needs and to find the poor in new places. Some examples beyond the usual example of Mother Teresa include, locally, HIV/AIDS ministry, support of those crossing the border, rural outreach, free healthcare clinics, gang rehabilitation and reconciliation, teaching the non-native speakers, and the list goes on, as you in religious communities know. In all cases, the hope was for service to the people of God with the support and collaboration of the church. So my hope for the church and the world is that consecrated life continues to be seen as a blessing for the church, and that the diversity of manifestations of consecrated life is supported in mutual respect and collaboration for the sake of the people of God. We know from history that responding to the needs of the times is of paramount importance to those professing religious vows, and that there is not just one way to respond for all times. With those in active apostolic communities, hope for from the church and the people of God is trust and openness, that the discernment of religious men and women is authentic, regarding their way of life and their call to mission. There will always be the need for open dialogue and mutual respect for the way of life different from those who are in administration or leadership in dioceses, and vice versa. Always, it is a two-way street. Most of all, I think we all need to take the stance that we are in this together with the various gifts that we bring. What is the church and the world asking from communities like mine? As a member of one of the later forms of consecrated life, an active apostolic community, I will answer from my perspective, since I really didn't take the time to survey others for their opinions. So I believe that the church and the people of God want us to be faithful to our own community charism, which was given to us as a gift by the Holy Spirit for the good of the church and the world. They would like us to be faithful witnesses of the gospel and our rule of life, which calls us to prayer, community, and service in a balanced way. And they would like us to be tuned into the pastoral priorities of the universal and local church as we give prayerful and discerning consideration to our response to the needs of the times. And with the encouragement and support of the church and the people of God, we will courageously continue to commit ourselves to this way of life. Last question. What has your vocation meant to you? In simple terms, it has meant everything. In detail, I would say, it has meant being part of something bigger than myself and being able to contribute to the good works done by my community, being convinced that together we can make a lasting difference in the lives of others. It has meant participating in the prayer life of my community and developing my own spiritual life. It has meant developing skills and abilities in myself that others have called forth in me. It has meant being supported in my ministry, be it nearby or at a distance. It has meant changing as the community has changed. It has meant becoming a sister to others in good times and in hard times. All of which means there have been abundant opportunities to love and to be loved by God, my sisters, my family, my friends, and my co-workers. I could not ask for more.